Welcome to HB Reddit Stories. Today we will see stories of r/am I the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for spending my son's university fund on a trip to Europe to drink beer like I always threatened instead of giving it to his stepbrother after he passed away? My son was smart. Smarter than me. I almost requested a paternity test because he was so damn intelligent. That is a joke. My ex and I divorced when he was about 12. She remarried when he was 14. I did when he was 16. I had an RESP set up for him. That's a education fund in Canada. As long as he went for post-secondary education, he could use the money for anything. I always told him that I was okay with him not going to university. That way I could use the money I had saved up for him to go to Belgium and buy some beer from monks that only allow you to buy one case. He knew I was joking and he always played along. He wouldn't let me get his goat. When he got accepted to McGill, it was the proudest moment of my life. I took him out for a beer to celebrate his achievement and mourn the loss of my trip to Europe. My son was struck and killed by a drunk driver in March. I'm dealing with it. My ex is dealing with it. My wife has been nothing but my rock in this. She is holding me up. I was dealing with the funeral arrangements and everything when my ex came to talk to me about his money. She knew he had a scholarship and was just going to use the money for living expenses and an emergency fund. She asked me what I was going to do with it. I said I was going to do what I always said I would. I was going to Europe to drink beer. She asked if she could have it for her stepson. I thought about it and said no. Her husband is a decent enough person, but he made it clear that he wasn't responsible for any expenses for my son. Beyond food and shelter and stuff, obviously. Like I said, he is decent. I said I was not going to do that. I was going to go drink beer in my son's honor. She says I'm wasting thousands of dollars. And I guess I am. I have to give back the government portion of the fund. But I don't care. My ex thinks I'm being stupid and irresponsible wasting my son's money like this. I don't care. My son would laugh his butt off if he knew I actually did it. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Sorry for your loss. I thought it was a clickbait title, but this is a sad post. I hope you enjoy your trip and pour out some for your homie. It sounds like you guys had a good relationship. OP replies. Thank you. From someone who lost her 15-year-old sister to a car accident, this really tore me up way more than I thought it would. She was killed a month after her 15th birthday and had just been accepted to a private high school with a full-ride scholarship she had been trying for. The acceptance letter sat on her vanity in her room for years after. You are not the a-hole, if anything, far from it. The ex-wife even asking is a huge one. Please go to Europe and celebrate his life. It's the only thing that should be done with that money. If you have a Venmo/Cash App etc., I would love to also buy you a beer. I'm truly sorry for your loss. OP replies. Thanks for the offer. I'm going to update when I'm there. I would appreciate it if you had one with me instead. My condolences. Your ex can ask for the money, but she shouldn't expect you to say yes. Not the a-hole. Westvleren Gold Cap is particularly worth traveling for. OP replies. That's the stuff I want. It is by lottery, so I probably will only try it at the visitors center. Not the a-hole. You're not wasting your money, you are celebrating your son's life and mourning your loss at the same time. I'm sorry for your loss and I hope the trip is healing for you. Raise a glass to your son for all the internet strangers who are thinking of you. Not the a-hole, but Jesus Christ, I am so sorry. Can you tell us more about your son? Share your favorite story about him, what he wanted to do for a job, your favorite activity together. OP replies. My son wanted to study microbiology and immunology. He is thrown for a loop by the pandemic and he wanted to make sure it didn't happen again. He talked about a lot of stuff that went over my head. I'm a baker. I understand yeast. He loved the Habs. I would get us tickets at least once a year. He loved kayaking with me. We are so close to so much water. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad there will be no making up for missing my high school graduation? I'm 18M, graduating high school at the end of this month. My dad dropped the bomb on me 2 nights ago that his stepdaughter, 14F, has an award ceremony for some competition she entered and won in another state on that same day and that she really wants him to be there. He told me he couldn't possibly make it to both, and since his wife and their children together will be going, he needs to be there too. He told me he would make it up to me and we could celebrate another time. I still live with him, not for much longer. My mom died when I was 7 and my dad got married again when I was 11 or 12. It's been a few years anyway. His stepdaughter never knew her bio dad, so my dad has accepted her as his own. And he has prioritized her a lot in the last 5-6 years. It doesn't always show in the most obvious ways, but it can be felt. Father/son time was put on an indefinite hiatus, and instead Dad told me we needed to include her in our time together, but he also spent time with just her for father/daughter time. I brought it up to my dad and he told me I wasn't exactly making an effort to be closer to her, so he wanted us all to bond and didn't want me to just focus on my relationship with him. He has attended her dance things instead of my basketball games if they're on at the same time. It doesn't matter if mine was known about first, he will still skip my stuff to go to hers. He will take us on family days, and whenever he and his wife say, "Kids can choose," he picks her choices over mine. He claims it's because they will be the most fun for everyone, but really, he even says it afterward, anything his little princess wants. Our refrigerator and our shower broke at the same time. His stepdaughter's birthday was coming up, so he took money from my birthday fund to pay for that stuff, and so his stepdaughter would definitely get what she wanted, this Barbie house thing and a whole fashion set, and they were, I think Dad said, $250. He didn't get all the money back by the time my birthday came around, so instead he bought me a $30 gift card for Steam when he had promised me a new monitor and keyboard for my computer. That was a gift from my grandparents. When my dad told me he wouldn't be at my graduation to go and support her, I told him there is no making up for that and he can forget about being included in my life going forward. He told me he would make it up to me, and I told him I will always come second to his little princess and I'm not going to be okay with that. I told him he's discarded me for the last time. Dad begged me to be reasonable, but I walked away. Then I invited both sets of grandparents who agreed to come. His wife told me I could have come with them and I don't need to attend the ceremony but could support my sister. I said her daughter's not my sister and I do not want to support their family anymore and I will be out of their hair soon. She called me selfish and told me I can't deny her daughter a dad. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Graduating high school is a big milestone. It's creditable your dad wants to be there for his stepdaughter. He needs to maintain balance though, and I feel he should have made time for a once-in-a-lifetime thing for you. Opie replies. That balance never existed. Once she came into his life, he prioritized her every step of the way. I hope you still enjoy your day and many congratulations. Wow, what a horrible way to keep showing you don't matter to them. Totally not the a-hole. And congrats on the freedom that awaits you. I'm impressed by your clarity of thinking. Took me much longer to get that level of understanding. If not done already, get your plan started or refined further. The shame they are hiding may cause some additional grief and manipulation. You got this, good luck. Life is very sweet without constant disappointment. Opie replies. Really, I only want to matter to him. But time and time again he has shown me that I don't. Massive not the a-hole. Besides the fact that that's his stepdaughter, high school graduation trumps essentially all childhood activities in priority of attendance by parents. Opie replies. Should be that way, but for my dad it isn't. Once it's hers, it will always be her celebration. Not the a-hole. Your father's wife felt your best option was to miss your own graduation to support her child. That's the way to make you feel included in a family. This is sarcasm, by the way. 2 children, 2 events, 2 parents, that is 1 parent per event. There may be a reason for your dad to go to other event if, say, wife scared to drive. But then she should be supporting you if a had bothered to build that relationship. You're right. Your dad has too much to make up for and no history of doing it. Edit, ask your dad's wife why it is okay to deny you any parent at all so her daughter can have too. I hope you pointed out to your father that while trying to make up for his stepdaughter having a loser father, that he has indeed become a loser to his own child. How ironic. Not the a-hole. Opie replies. Yep. I also mentioned how she has 2 parents now and I have 0 because I already lost my mom and now I lost him as well. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband he's too broke to be so sexist? Throwaway. So my husband comes from a traditional family. Mom's a stay-at-home mother, father was sole provider. I come from the opposite. My mother pretty much forbade from ever being financially dependent on a man and drilled that into me early on. My husband worked hard to unlearn the values he saw replicated at home. He, often more than, pulled his weight at home, was an engaged and present father and a genuine partner. The one thing that grinds my gears is how much weight he puts on the opinions of his family. I get that we all want our parents to be proud of us, but this is too much. My in-laws are staying with us for 2 weeks. Our usual MO is, I prep breakfast, we all eat lunch at work/school, and my husband makes dinner. We have a cleaner, but she's on holiday, so in the meantime we're DIYing the cleaning where it's down to everyone to keep their space clean and common spaces we all clean. This is how we've always done it, and it works. My in-laws hate that I'm one of those modern women. They hate that I work, they hate that I don't find my purpose in being a wife and mother, and they hate that my husband pulls his weight at home. We spoke pretty frankly early on, where I established my boundaries and told them I won't be chastised about how I live my life in my home. When I am a guest in their home, I accommodate their ways and play the daughter-in-law they wish I was. They have for the most part respected this. I got home yesterday after work tired and starving. I typically get home 18:15/30 and we eat at 1900. I said quick hellos and ran up for a pre-dinner shower. When I came down, I went to the kitchen to help set up for dinner and found nothing ready. I asked my husband about it, but he wouldn't look at me, and his mother answered that he hadn't cooked anything. She told me I needed to do my duty as a wife and cook for my family. My coward of a husband still wasn't looking at me. I just walked away and ordered takeaway. I dished up for me and my kids and we sat at the table to eat. My husband and his parents served themselves and joined us. My mother-in-law was still going on about what was wrong with me and why I was a failure. I asked my husband if he had anything to say. He said his mother had a point and it wouldn't hurt if I acted more like a proper woman and took better care of my home and children. He said tradition was tradition for a reason, and it was kind of insulting that I thought I was too good for how he was raised. This is where I might be the a-hole. I told him tradition won't allow a man on $35K to support a family of 5 and he was too broke to be so sexist. He looked hurt and I saw tears welling in his eyes. He excused himself from the table. I regret saying this in front of our children, but him saying that to me after I'm busting my butt to clean up his mess on top of having to deal with his parents was too much for me. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Sucks the kids were there for it, but he deserved worse. Not the a-hole. Should have ordered only enough food for you and the kids. Not the a-hole. Your husband was indeed a coward. He has been a willing participant in your marriage all along and has gamely contributed to the agreement you have that works for you both. It was incredibly hurtful of him to not uphold his own decisions nor defend his wonderful partner of a wife to his parents. When the shit hit the fan, he failed to hold up, and that's a really sad realization for you. What you said might have been hurtful and cutting, but it was the truth, and only came out because he said, also in front of your children, that you weren't a proper woman and didn't take adequate care of your home and children. Frankly, he needed to hear it. How can he think you should be more or better with all that you're already doing? Does he think it's really a valid option for you to just drop your work and career to be a homemaker, and how does he think that's gonna go for your family? It's absurdly impractical and makes him look like an imbecile to think it has merit. Hate to fall into old Reddit tropes, but it's gotta be therapy or divorce time, no? Definitely do the therapy route because it sounds like he's like 85% bought in and working to be a better person, but that 15% reared its head when his parents came around. Which might mean you need some firm boundaries against his parents. It's sickening that they abused their influence of him and used their time with him alone to turn him against you. If it were me, they would not be welcome in my home ever again, and I'd be seriously considering limiting their access to the grandkids as well, because they are poisonous against you. Not the a-hole. To be honest, I would have been even meaner. Oh honey, I would love to be there for my children and cook meals for you, but as you can't provide for me, like a traditional man would, and can't lead but are led by your mother. I'm forced to be the man and the woman here. I also won't tolerate to be talked to like your mother does in my own home. In my home, eating food I pay for. Another word and I will kick them out. Your husband needs a spine. Desperately. Not the a-hole. I get you want to present a united front to the kids, but he said that about you in front of them, and that is not an idea you want taking root in your children's mind. He was banking on you bowing to peer/family pressure to get away with this disrespect of you and your family's normal way of division of labor. He gambled and lost on that, and I am really proud that you did not bow down just because his parents were there or that the kids were in the room. Too many people let things like this slide so as not to upset the apple cart. This is all on him. He decided it was better for him and easier for him risk your feelings than stand up to his parents. He chose to upset you versus upsetting his mother. I honestly would not have let them have any of the takeout food. I would have probably taken my kids and left to have dinner with just me and the kids. Next story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my parents at an island in the Caribbean so I could get back to our cruise in time? I graduated from high school back in December. As a gift, my parents got me a cruise. It was also for my 18th birthday. It was also a family vacation. We usually stay at all-inclusive resorts, but I have always wanted to go on a cruise. I told my parents it was different and that if we went on excursions we had to follow the schedule no matter what. Well, it was a week-long cruise and they would not head back to the ship when I said it was time to go. They were busy shopping and bargaining with the locals. I finally said that I was heading back to the ship. My mom waved me off. They missed the departure. By a lot. Like 45 minutes. They got a hold of me through WhatsApp. They wanted to know why I didn't get the boat to wait for them. I wanted to scream that they were not going to inconvenience 3,998 people because two could not understand what a schedule was. They ended up having to fly to the next port from there, and it was expensive. They are pissed at me for leaving them behind. I don't know what I was supposed to do. They literally told me that they knew what they were doing. I wish I had never asked for this. They are making me miserable because I left without them. Top comments. Not the a-hole. They seriously think the ship will delay for 45 minutes, you know. The docks and ship have a schedule to keep. They are adults and need to be responsible for getting back on time. Which is something you have figured out in less than 6 months of being an adult. At least you don't have to go on any more vacations with them after this. Not the a-hole. Your parents are acting entitled. Tell them you saved them the expense of a third ticket to the next port. Your parents are in the wrong. I don't do cruises, but I have some experience with them because I travel to a place where cruise ships are common. I also thought passengers were warned that the ship leaves no matter who is on board. You would never have been able to prevent the cruise ship from leaving. They have a schedule and they keep to it. The ship waits for no one. This is all on your parents. They didn't respect the ship's schedule. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Cruise ships have a schedule to keep, and there was no way they would wait for just 2 passengers without knowing where they were. They might wait if there's a whole bunch of passengers being delayed on an excursion that was organized by the cruise ship company, but that's iffy. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my father I do know about that? I, F28, am a wildlife biologist. I have a master's degree in wildlife conservation and am hoping to go for my doctorate soon. I have worked in this field since I was 16, and am very passionate about it. When visiting my family recently for Easter, my mom asked me to tell the family a little bit about work. I was very excited to talk about my current research. Here's where the issue comes in, though. My father, M60, would respond to almost everything I said with, I don't know about that. At first, I tried to ignore it, but it just didn't stop. Eventually, I responded, well, I do, given the 2 degrees and all. I responded in a light, playful tone, but he did not take it well at all. He immediately accused me of being disrespectful. I responded, I'm sorry, but it's disrespectful of you to insinuate that you know more than I do about my field. Dinner got pretty quiet after that. I finished the meal, helped with the dishes, and said goodbye before leaving, but on the ride home I got a phone call from my mother asking me why I felt the need to aggravate my father and why I had to talk back. I am a 28-year-old professional, this feels insane to me. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. At first you used a playful tone so you weren't confronting him in front of other people. He was being disrespectful to you to start with. Is this a pattern with him? Opie replies. Unfortunately yes, which is why it's so hard to just ignore it, as my mother suggests. Not the a-hole. Your dad is obviously uncomfortable with the idea of you being an authority. Does he have any post-grad education? Many older gen folks without education feel threatened by being perceived as ignorant, so they posture as compensation. A great reply might be, oh, no? Tell me more about why you don't agree. Let him talk himself into a corner or off a cliff. He's not gonna know your field as well as you do, and he'll make an butt of himself trying to appear that he does. There's a famous quote that goes, never interrupt your enemy when he's making mistake. Now, of course, he's not your enemy, but you get the idea. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel HB Reddit Stories.